Hi, welcome back all of you to the part 2 of the presentation of reading 44 for the CFA Level 1 candidate for 2021-2022. I'm Abhishek Bal, your host. So in the part 1 of this video for fixed income valuation, we covered the pricing and valuing of bond given a market discount rate. And we also talked about the relationship between market discount rate and yield of a bond. We attempted a few problems and we also showed what is meant by the no arbitrage theoretical fair price and how the yield to maturity is nothing but a internal rate of return, assuming a constant rate of interest or a constant yield if the investor holds the issue until maturity. We discussed about the relationship between the coupon rate as well as the yield to maturity or the current yield, and under what circumstances, what kind of price the market should actually have for a particular issue given the coupon rate is equal to the discount rate, less than discount rate, or more than the discount rate. We also talked about the maturity zeros, or what is famously known as the spot rates, and we also talked about how to glean out the yield to maturity given different spot rates for different tenor. We worked out this particular problem as well. And we also covered something called as the price yielded trajectory, and we showed that how, regardless of how a bond is being issued in the market, whether at premium, at par, or at discount, invariably, if the investor holds the issue till maturity, he's going to have a realized yield which is guaranteed provided the issuer does not default, and how the issue gradually gravitates towards its final fair value or the face value of the issue itself. This happens along the glide path of the security, which is called as the price yield trajectory, and the phenomenon of the issue gravitating towards its face value is called something called as the pull to par effect. The measure of duration we already discussed in the preceding chapters as well as the last video of ours, wherein we showed how the duration captures the linear measure of the price yield relationship, and given the percentage yield change or infinitesimally small yield change in absolute value, how the price of an issue also changes. Of course, we also discussed about the inverse relationship between the price and yield of a bond, and we also showed the point of tangency of the price yield curve. The price yield curve is essentially a parabolic curve, and at its focal point, the tangent that is being drawn is nothing but the duration measure or the linear measure of the sensitivity of a bond. We talked about 4 important derivations, and we drew the simile with a very basic class 7, class 8 physics, wherein we talked about the market interest rate volatility, which is reflected into the shock, the market forces, which is reflected into the market interest rate volatility, and we showed how given the length of the maturity, given the coupon rate under different interest rate regime, how the interest rate volatility acts as an economic shock, and finally as a risk factor, and how the sensitivity of the bond determines the absolute change and the percentage change of security. We drew the example of the cantilever, wherein we said that the barbell is there, and the one end of the barbell, we should assume that there is a huge massive ball, which is nothing but the face value of the security, and then we drew different conditions under which a lower paying coupon becomes more sensitive because its cash flows are received much later than a higher paying coupon, which periodically pays more cash flow, which invariably takes us to the conclusion that the zero interest coupon bond actually is the most sensitive as far as the price impact is concerned. So we discussed all of that. Namely, there were 4 derivations. I would want all of you to read on that part of the video, because that is a very important lesson across all the 3 levels of CFA. Okay, so today we are going to discuss the clean price. We start with the clean price and the dirty price of a bond, and the relationship between the two. We are also going to discuss about what is called as the accrued interest, and what is the relationship between the cash price of a bond, the clean price and the accrued interest. So typically, what we actually found out in various ways of actually finding out using the TVM method, the time value method, of finding out the cash flows and equating that cash flows as the fair price of a bond. That is basically a theoretical approach to a bond, and it's always going to be recorded, or it is always going to be recorded on the resetting date or the coupon paying date. Okay, but that being said, not every investor invests the bond at the issue of the bond itself. So I may or may not have actually the bond in my portfolio the day it was issued. It's quite natural. Secondly, even if I do have, let's take this example. Let's say I was lucky enough to have subscribed to the issue and gotten the issue, but my tenor, my horizon is only, let's say this particular bond is of, let's say 10 years maturity. So, but I intend to hold, my investment horizon is only up to 4 years. So that evidently means that I'm not going to hold this issue until maturity. We can also be a situation, there could also be a situation that I enter as an investor to this security in the 6th year and hold for the next 10 years. So hold for the next 5 years. So that's also quite possible. So the difference between these two is that in the first case, I have subscribed to the issue at the very beginning itself and intend to hold in for the next 4 years. While in the second case, I'm essentially purchasing this security in the secondary market and at the beginning of its 6th year, and with the intent of holding it till maturity. The third case wherein I, enter the market, in the secondary market once again, wherein I intend to buy the security in the beginning of the 3rd year and would like to hold the security at till 7 years. So in this case, my tenor is going to be again 4 years, but see how the timelines. That timeline, how it differs. Okay, so given this situation, and more importantly, we also must understand that there is no guarantee that I will actually be purchasing the security on the coupon paying date or just the day after the coupon has been paid. I can buy the security or sell the security. I can essentially trade the security at any given point in time within the lifespan of the security itself, right? So the day actually I exchange cash with the security, that is called the settlement date. The settlement date could be the one wherein I trade. So either I buy or sell, that's the settlement date. The redemption date, of course, is the final fair value of the security, that is at maturity itself. That's the redemption date. Okay. Now, before we move into valuing such kind of security, I have to also tell you that value of any security, it's not limited only to fixed income bond. Value of any security need not essentially equal to the market price of it. Okay, because market price could be a function of several other things. It could be obviously the theoretical aspect of how we determine the pricing of a bond does play an important role, because that's predominantly concerned with the market interest rate. So that obviously goes without saying. But having said that, demand supply situation also would play a very pivotal role in determining the price of a security. Okay, there could be sudden shocks in the credit perspective as well of the bond, which may or may not be captured in the security immediately, but that may immediately reflect in the pricing of the security. So there are a lot of other things that go into it. Anyway, so for convention's purpose, we must understand that the theoretical way of gleaning out the price of a security is called the clean price or the flat price of a bond. The accrued interest is, let's say this issue was floated in the market on January 1, 2015 with the intent of retiring the security on December 31, 2024. So it's a 10-year security, and each year it's an annual pay security, which means that at the end of every year on December 31st, it pays the annual coupon. Okay, so it pays a first coupon here, that is the 31st of January 2015, 31st of January 2016, 2017, 31st of December, 31st of December 2018, and so on and so forth. Now, what happens is that I could buy the security here, or it can so happen that I decide to buy the security somewhere interim here. So that could be an odd date. Let's say that is 14th of let's say 14th of September. Okay, that could be my date that I intend to purchase the security. So how do we find out the price of a bond on that particular day, which is interim 2 coupons? Okay, so in reality, we would definitely encounter these kind of situations. So we're going to understand, how to find the valuation, how to actually derive the valuation in the interim date, and finally, the accrued interest is basically, when we actually buy the security in between, or try and sell the security in between, trade the security in between 2 coupons. So that particular day, the holder of a security, would already have accrued some portion of the interest, some portion of the coupon, right? So that accrued portion is called the accrued interest. So in layman's terms, so let's say we are talking about annual pay issue. So we are between the 4th year and the 5th year. Okay. So as we said before, that on the 31st of December each year the coupons are paid, right? And let's say we are talking about, let's say 30th of September. So 30th of September. So from here, at the beginning of the 4th year, at the end of the 4th year, at the beginning of the 5th, so 9 months would have passed. So 9 months would have passed would mean that the holder of the fixed income security would have already accrued 3/4 of the annual coupon, right? So this 3/4 of this annual coupon is what is called as the accrued interest. But natural that when he is going to sell the security in the market, in the secondary market, the buyer must make a good of this accrued interest, which he is otherwise foregoing, because come 31st of December, the new holder of the security will be enjoying the coupon. So the buyer must suitably compensate the outgoing investor, or the seller of the security, in this manner, so which is called as accrued interest. There are various ways of how we calculate the accrued interest. So typically if it is a government bond, then we use the actual by actual method. So the actual number of days divided by the actual number of days in a year. So of course it's going to be, actual number of years is going to be 365, but then it also depends upon the frequency of the coupon. It could be 180 days. Every 180 days the coupon could be paid, or 181 days. So it could be 181 days in the denominator, while on the numerator it could be actually the day the security is sold in the market, in the secondary market, that is. So from the last coupon date. So that's how the use of day count convention is concerned. Whereas if it is a corporate bond, the general convention is that we use the 30 by 360 convention. So with that, let's immediately attempt a problem to elucidate the whole concept here. So we have here ABC. I'll read out the problem for you, and well, the CFA text actually shows one way of calculating deriving the pricing of the security. We're going to learn all the 3 methods, and the one that suits you the most, I would advise the student candidates to adopt that method. So let's get the problem first. So the problem says that ABC Inc. has issued a 10-year corporate bond paying 10% semi-annual coupon on January 2015, maturing on December 2024. The coupon paying dates each year are June 30 and December 31. It is now September 13, 2021. Consider this the settlement date for a retail investor. The flat white team for this issue is determined at 8%. Using the corporate day count, so the corporate day count would mean the 30 by 360. So using the corporate day count convention, determine the clean price and the flat price of the bond. Also determine the settlement price of the issue on September 13, 2021. Okay, so the first way we will be doing this is through the projection method. But before that, I would want to draw the timelines, because as I said before, that once you draw the timeline, the things will become that much easier for us to understand. So we are essentially talking about annual pay, semi-annual pay bond here, which is issued at t is equal to 0, the t is equal to 10 years, t is equal to 5, and so on and so forth. Okay. Now, the coupon is being paid semi-annually, so which means that one coupon will be paid here semi-annually, second coupon will be paid here, one coupon will be paid here, second coupon will be paid here, one coupon will be paid here, second coupon will be paid here. So in a year, there are going to be a couple of coupons because this is a semi-annual pay coupon bond. Okay. All right. So imagine this date being January 1, 2015. This date obviously is going to be January 1, or as the case may be, is going to be December 31, 2015, or January 1. This is an overlapping period. So that's how it is. So these are the two dates that coupon will be paid. So December 31, and the another day coupon will be paid will be June 30. All right. So let's understand a couple of things. So we are going to pay 5% coupon. So that would mean 5% coupon here, 5% coupon here, 5% coupon here. Every 6 months, you're going to get 5% of the amount that you have invested as your principal. But we also have to understand a couple of more things. The 5% coupon is being paid every 6 months, while the yield to maturity has been determined to be 8%. That means semi-annual yield to maturity is 4%. Okay. When you have this, as we have understood before, when the coupon is more than the yield, the issue will definitely be priced premium to par, all other things remaining constant. So if an issue is priced premium to par, and if you hold this issue until its maturity, that would typically mean that if we follow the price yield trajectory, the issue is somewhere here. This is the face value. Face value is obviously going to be 100. We know that the issue has been floated. The issue has been floated at premium because the coupon rate is more than the market interest rate. Okay. So this is the glide path. We have learned this in the preceding slides. This is the glide path along which the issue finally will gravitate towards its face value. Okay. Now, given the date that has been given is September 13. So this is our settlement date, September 13, 2021. Okay. September 13, 2021. So what are the two coupons engulfing this September 13? So one coupon will be at June 30, 2021, and another coupon will be paid at December 31st, 2021. Okay. We are aware of these two things. So we have to find out the price of this bond. So first, let's find out what would have been the price of this issue on June 30, 2021, the day the last coupon was paid. Okay. So we typically apply our methodology of the time value of money. So wherein we set n. So remember, if you're talking about June 30, 2021, so from June 30, 2021 till December 31, 2024. So essentially, we have 8 more periods, right? We have 8 more periods. So we write n is equal to 8. Okay. The yield to maturity has been determined at 8% per annum. That means 4% every 6 months. Okay. The face value of this security we know going to be obviously 100. That is, that goes without saying. And the coupon that is being paid is 5. Given all this, the price of this security, if you use your calci, so the price of this security comes out to be somewhere around, since I've already done this for you, I'll save myself the calculation, but you could try it out at your end. So the price of this security comes out to be 106. Okay. This 106 is the price of the security on June 30th. Now remember, since we are at the coupon paying date or the coupon resetting date as it is known, hence this will be called as the clean price of the bond. Right? This is the clean price of the bond. So the clean price of the bond on June 30, 2021 is 106. Right? Great. Now, from June 30 till September 21, there are how many days? If we go by the days count convention, there are going to be 30 days in June, 30 days in July. We're going to count at 30 days each month, and 360 days as the each year, whole of the year, and 13 days for September in the month of September. Okay, so this comes out to be 73 days. Time between the coupon, two successive coupon, the time, since it's semi-annual, the time between two successive coupon is obviously going to be 180 days. Okay, so from June 30 to September 13, 2021, the time scale that has elapsed is equal to somewhere around 73 divided by 180, which comes out to be 0.40. So the accrued interest is going to be 5 into 0.40, or actually if we take the so 5 into 0.40, which is 2. Okay. So that means that the investor who was holding the security on June 30th as on September 13th has already earned a coupon of 2 out of the possible 5. Okay, that part is clear. So now this is what is called as the accrued interest. Now, since it follows a constant price yield trajectory, hence, as we have mentioned before, that the investor is guaranteed of earning the realized yield, promised yield that is. So which means that by virtue of holding this security, the investor would have already earned 106 into, what is the yield of the security? The yield of the security is 4% for 6 months. So it is going to be 1 plus 4% to the power 73 divided by 180. Okay, just by virtue of this, because he is holding the security, so this math comes out to be somewhere close to 107.7, which means that the investor in totality has to be compensated to the tune of 107.7 on September 13 by virtue of him actually holding the security and the security being following the price yield trajectory, which we had discussed earlier. Now remember, this 107.7 also includes this accrued interest of 2 that we had calculated. So now we have got three things along with this. So one is that the investor would have the total price of the security, including the accrued interest, is 107.7, which is also called the cash price or the dirty price of a bond. This is the first thing that we learned. Second is that the accrued interest has been determined. Accrued interest has been determined to be 2, and we follow the equation that the cash price of a bond is nothing but the clean price plus the accrued interest, which means that the clean price equal to cash price minus the accrued interest. Okay, so if you do this math, the clean price comes out to be 105.7. Okay, so this way of calculating and finding out the value of the security interim to coupons is called the projection method. We are also going to see how we can solve the same problem through the discounting method. But before that, I'll just take once again back to the diagram here. As we mentioned that the security is being priced interim 2 coupon dates. One is the preceding coupon, which happened on June 30th, and the second is the December 31st, which is the forthcoming coupon. And this is the interim period on which the settlement is happening. Okay, so this method of finding out the value of the bond is called the projection method. The discounting method exactly takes the opposite view. So we found out from June 30th till September 13th. Now we have to find out from December 31 to September 13th. So it's just the other way of doing the same problem. So let's just do it. So here in this case, I'm just drawing the diagram for brevity's sake. So here we are. June 30th payment had happened. We are right now at September 13, and December 31, the next payment would happen. Okay, next payment would happen here. Next coupon will be paid here. So now imagine from December 31 till the maturity of its bond, the number of periods that will remain after this is going to be 6 periods, right? Because on June 30th, it will be 7 periods, because June 30th, the number of periods left after the coupon payment was 8 periods. So the number of periods left after the December 31 period is going to be 7 period. So we can definitely then find out the clean price of the bond from the next coupon date of December 30th. All that we have to do is to change the period from n is equal to 8 to n is equal to 7, and the calci will do the job for you. So once you have done that, the price of the security, so let's just do it. So it's going to be somewhere around 106. I'm sorry, it's not going to be 106, it's going to be it's going to be 105.242. Yeah. So all that we did was we put n is equal to 7 and the rest of the math remained same. 2.242. Okay, so that means the security on December 31 after this payment of coupon, the price of the security is going to be 105.242. Now remember, now here between December 31 and September 13, the number of days are equal to 107. How is it? Because now we have 17 days of September left after September 13, October 30 days, November 30 days, and December another 30 days. So this comes out to be 107, and the time scale comes out to be 107 divided by 180, which is approximately 0.6. Okay. Now all that we need to understand here is that since this is a trajectory, in this trajectory the bond was issued in premium. So that means that the bond subsequently at each payment of its coupon date must proportionately decrease in value in order to reach its face value, right? Opposite would have been the case if the bond were issued at discount. In that case, the opposite would have happened, which means that the subsequent period would accrue. Okay, so since this is where it has come to on December 31st, this is where it has come to, and if it's on a constant price yield trajectory of 5% as we have shown before, 4% as we have shown before, every 6 months, that is 4% every 6 months, yield to maturity is 8%. So that means that the price on September, the clean price, the price of the bond on September 13 must have been more than 105.242 as on December 31, because if we follow this trajectory, this is what it is coming out to be. So in order to find out what should have been the value on September 31, we must then compound it, and compound it with what? Since it's on the same price yield trajectory, we must compound it with the yield. It's also, of course, okay. So all that we have to do is to 105.242 multiplied by 1 plus 4%, and here the to the power it is going to be 0.6. Now see the difference. I want you to see the difference here. The compounding power was 73 upon 180, which was close to 0.4. It was close to 0.4. Okay, we discussed that. It is close to 0.4, and here it is close to 0.6. So it is no-brainer actually. In fact, I need not even calculate this. If we had already known that it was 0.4, it has to be, the rest of the period has to be 0.6. So when we do this math, this comes out to be 1.04 y to the power x of 0.6 into 105.242, it comes out to 107.74. So it's going to be 107.74. Now, exactly the same price as we had arrived earlier. A few percentage points here and there obviously is going to be because of the rounding out effect. Now, we had already determined the accrued interest, right? Because the accrued interest portion, that does not change. The accrued interest has to be compensated to the holder of the security who had sold them, so who is supposed to sell the security on September 13th. So the accrued interest remains 2. Accrued interest remains 2. So this is the whole price of the bond, or the cash price of the bond, or the dirty price of the bond. Accrued interest is 2, which means that the clean price of the bond is going to be 105.74. Exactly the same price as we had arrived earlier. Okay, so this is the method of discounting. The third and the easiest method of doing this whole sum, which the CFA Institute does not actually quite propagate, is of making use of something called as bond functions. And remember, this is the shortcut for you in your exam. Okay, so how do we go about it? Okay, so all that we need to do is, first and foremost, it is available in your Texas TI BA2 Plus. I'm not aware of how the bond function works in the Hewlett-Packard calculator 12C. I believe that the professional version only has the bond function embedded in it. I'm not sure if the student version of the TI Texas Instrument BA2 has the bond function. I'm not aware of that. So with this submission, so let me show you. All that you have to do is to press second, okay, and press bond. That is the digit 9. So press second and press 9. So this function comes into picture. Okay. So here we need to, there are 3 inputs that are to be provided, and the calci will do the rest of the job. The first thing that you will notice is something called the SDT, which is nothing but the settlement date. Now, in our case, the settlement date happens to be 13th September 2021. Now, you need to see your calci mode, what calci mode it is in. I'm not sure, but it has to be in this format only. This is important, okay? So, please set your calci in this format first. So, once I've set my calci in this format, all that I have to do is to punch in 09 dot, then punch it 13 and then punch in 21. So it will immediately take the value of 13 September 2021. So once you do that, press the down key. Now it will ask for the coupon, CPN. Enter the coupon. The coupon is nothing but 5. Enter the coupon. Sorry, the coupon is 10 per annum. So we have to write 10. Press the down key again, and it is now the redemption date, which is expressed as RDT. Same methodology you follow. So the redemption date here, it is our redemption date is 31st December 2024. So I input this value 12.3124, and the calci takes the value. After that, the RV, which is the redemption value, that is by default 100. Do not touch this, leave it as it is. Press the down key again. So it will ask you the day count. By default, it may look like ACT. Change that to second, enter, and it will enter into 360. Now remember, it will all depend upon which bond, which type of issue you are valuing, which type of issue you are working with. If it's a corporate issue which goes with the convention of 3360, then you need to change. You need to see your calci setting. If it is given at actual, you need to press second, enter. I have set my calci at already 3360 by default, so it is taking at ACT 360. After that, press the down key again, and it will ask for the coupon frequency. The coupon frequency by default could be written as 1 upon Y. Since it's a semi-annual pay coupon, you need to change that to second, enter again. So once you press second, enter, it changes to 2 upon Y. Remember, I made these changes because the coupon is paid semi-annually. After you've done that, press the down key again, and it will ask for YLD, which is the yield. Since it's a constant yield given as 8%, so I write 8. Press the down key again, and you will see automatically the principal being written as 105.67, which is roughly equal to 105.7. Okay, and press the down key once again, and you will see it is written as AI. AI by default will come for 2.02. Okay, now what the calci did? The calci did all the work, all the mathematics that we have been discussing for the last half an hour here, and saved you all the spade work that you need to do. Remember, in your exam, you have limited time, and within that limited time, you would like to score as much as possible accurately. So speed is of essence, and since speed is of essence, this shortcut is going to save you a ton. Okay, so by this, you're going to get the same result. This PRI, it is just remember a few convention. This PRI is the clean price of the bond. So the dirty AI is as we have calculated earlier. So the dirty price is nothing but the clean price plus the accrued interest, which again comes out to be 107.7. This is exactly the same thing which we found out through the process of discounting as well as projection. So the beauty of this is that once you use the bond function, the problem which otherwise would have taken more than 2 minutes or 3 minutes can be done in less than 30 seconds. Okay, so let's take this example. Coco Tavera municipality plans on building a new public library. A part of new funds is being raised. The corporation issues a 12% 12 years bond on June 01, 2020. The bond pays semi-annual coupon as a retail investor on date 12 August 2022. The bond is to be purchased. The determined yield is 14%. Determine the clean and full price of the bond on the settlement date, that is 12 August 2022. Assume government day count convention apply to this issue. So I'm not going to walk you through again the same process of projecting, discounting, drawing the time scale and stuff. You would, if you have followed the example previously, that should have been amply clear. All that I'm going to do is to make use of my bond function and do the job for you. Okay. So again, all I'm going to do is press second and press bond. So first is the settlement date. The settlement date has been given as 12 August 2022. So we write 0.08.1222. So it took the settlement date. Then I press the down key. The coupon. Remember, you have to mention the coupon in an annual fashion. So the coupon comes out to be 12%. So I write 12. The redemption date. So the redemption date has been determined as 12 years. So 12 years from June 1, 2020. 12 years from June 1, 2020 comes out to be May 31. 2032. This is my redemption date. So the way I write it is 05.3132. So 05.3132. Okay, so I've inputted my redemption date. I've provided the inputs to my coupon as well. and the settlement date, obviously the redemption value is the face value as 100. That comes by default. I need not do anything. Press the down key, and here, since my calculator is already set to 360, I need to change it to the government, which is actual by actual. So I press second enter, and it gives me actual by actual. Now again, I repeat, if your it depends upon the setting of your calci. If your calci is already set to the government and this is a government problem, you need not change and you need not do anything. Since my calci was already set at corporate, so it assumed the default value of 360, I change it to actual. Press the down key again, and the coupon frequency is by default at 2 by Y because it's a semi-annual pay coupon. And then it press the down key again. It is asking for the yield. The yield is, the annual yield is 14% as has been determined. So I write 14. So now comes PRI. When it comes to PRI, it says CPT. And once I press CPT, the PRI comes out to be 89.45, which is the clean price of the bond. Okay. Now, as far as accrued interest is concerned, just press the down key again, and the accrued interest comes out to be 2.39. 2.393. So we will assume close to, let's say, 2.4 just for brevity's sake. Now, what it has asked me to find out the clean price, I found the accrued interest also. So the cash price is going to be the clean price, the dirty price, or the cash price is going to be the clean price plus the accrued interest, which is 89.45 plus 2.4, which is around 91.85. So this is an easy way of doing the same sum. Saves you a lot of trouble, saves you a lot of calculation, calculation burden. Okay, so now let's move to something called as the matrix pricing. So what is matrix pricing? So at the core of it, let's understand that hitherto all the issues that we discussed so far were easy to find, they were easy to glean out, they were easy to actually value because the market interest was given. The market interest rate essentially is nothing but is based on the most liquid government security for the given maturity. Now, it could also so happen at any given point in time that a particular issue that is to be valued does not have a concurrent, government security floating around. It could happen. Now, in such a situation, how do we find out the value of this security? Or the other way of looking at the same problem is that the bond itself is highly liquid. It's very infrequently traded in the market, and hence the theoretical value, even if we try to find out, given the maturity of the security itself, or given the maturity or a similar maturity of a government security, may not accurately represent the bond. So in such a situation, we make use of something called as the matrix pricing. So in case of matrix pricing, all that we do is to find out the neighboring bonds and the nearest neighboring bonds, where they are actually trading, at what price or what yield they're trading. Of course, we just don't pick up any security. We try and pick up those neighboring securities that are the most similar to the issue under consideration. So for example, if we are talking about, let's say, a bond which is rated triple B, and the price of the security is to be found out for, let's say, the duration is 4 years, but this security is not valued, there's no concurrent liquid security. So all that we need to try and see that how many triple B bonds are there in the market that has in and around maturity of 4 years. Okay, so that's one way of doing at it. Of course, within that also we are going to pick up the ones that are most liquid. Okay, So that's the approach that we will have to. So let's just take the example. So the example in front of us is that of bond D, and bond D, the maturity, the example in front of us is that of bond X. Bond X has a maturity of 3 years, okay, and it pays 4% annual coupon, and that's the only thing that we have information. So we have to value this bond knowing that it's infrequently traded in the market, it's highly liquid, and there are no concurrent government securities that could actually give us the best guess estimate. Typically, these kind of matrix pricing are mostly applied to the illiquid securities or lower rated securities, in order to find out the best possible guess estimate. So how do we find out the price or the yield of bond X? So all that we have to do is to try and find out which are the available securities. Now remember, in exam, you will be provided with these things. So we have, the math is already done here. So I'm just going to rehash the whole thing. So concurrent to bond X, we find out that bond X pays 4%. There is one security which pays 4% and yields 4.196, but the maturity of that security is 5 years. So that's one clue that we have. Okay. So from maturity perspective, we found out one security that has 5 year that pays the same coupon, but maturity is 5 years. It's not 3 years. And the second thing we found out was that there does not exist quite, but we have a couple of securities. One is yielding at 3.786%, paying a coupon of 3%, and another is yielding 3.821%, paying a coupon of 5%, and 3% coupon, 5% coupon, but there are no concurrent security that is paying 4% coupon. Okay. So the first thing, the way that we approach this problem is that given these two things, we try and find out if we can extrapolate the price of the bond D that is paying a coupon of 4%. So what could be the possible yield of the security? But obvious that we are comparing bond D because bond D has similar maturity as bond A and bond B, and that is of 2 years. So it is fair to say, since these are these are typically highly rated securities, because that's the premises, and they're almost similarly weighted. They're almost similarly rated. So the yield, it might be safe to assume that the yield is going to be somewhere in between. That means it's going to be a little bit more than maybe 3.786%, but a little bit less than 3.821%. Okay, so we take the average of this yield and we say that the yield of bond D is something close to 3.786 plus 3.821 divided by 2, because the coupon is semi-distance between the two, so I can safely take the average of it. So this comes out to be 3.786 plus 3.821 divided by 2, that is coming to 3.8035. So this comes out to be 3.8035. Now this 3.8035 is the extrapolated yield of bond D that is paying a coupon of 4%, having a similar maturity as that of bond A and bond B. So I place this here. So bond D is yielding 3.8035%. Now, given this, can I find out the price of bond D? Of course, we can find out the price of bond D, and that is obviously going to be an extrapolation. Remember, that's not the actual price or the actual theoretically gleaned up price, but that's the best guess estimate given the situation here. So, given this 3.8035 being the yield, so we set the TVM problem, and wherein we say that maturity is N is equal to 2 years. 3.8035 is the I by Y, 100 of course is the face value, 4 is the coupon, and the price of such security should be somewhere close to 100.37. So the price, the extrapolated price of the security is 100.37. Okay. Now, it could also be so happen that, the price of the security is given, so we have to find out the yield. Even that can, we make use of the TVM in our calculation, we can find out the yield also. Okay. So, depending on how the matrix is given. Now, between this 3.8035 and 4.196, the yield difference. So, now the first step was to find out the yield between these two. We extrapolated bond A and bond B to find out the yield, extrapolated yield of bond D. Now we see what is the yield difference between bond D and between bond D, which is of 2 years maturity, vis-a-vis another security which is also trading in the market, paying 4%, but is of 5 years maturity. So the yield difference between the two of bond D that is maturing in 2 years and that of, let's say, bond Y that is maturing of 5 years. Remember, why we are taking these two into consideration now? Because both of them are paying 4%. So the yield difference is coming out to be somewhere around 4.196 minus 3.8035, which is .3925. So it's 0.3925%. Okay. That means the yield difference between a 2-year security that is paying 4% and a security which is paying 4% but of maturity of 5 years is only 0.3925%. But obvious that as we go from 2 years to 5 years, the yield will only increase. So the rest of the method is very simple. We have to apply the unitary method. So all that we have to see, and 2 years maturity and 5 years maturity. So for 3 years, 3 years maturity, 3-year maturity, the yield difference is 0.3925 in percent. So for 1 year maturity, the yield difference, if we linearly extrapolate, should be 0.3925 divided by 3. It's simple math, which comes out to be 0.1308. Remember, this is not given in basis point but in percentage. So what we found out the yield, extrapolated yield of bond D at 3.8035. We found out the yield difference between bond D and, let's say, bond Y, which is of 5 years, that is 0.3925%, but the maturity difference is of 3 years. So what is going to be the yield difference if the maturity difference is of 1 year? So it's going to be 0.1308%. So all that we have to do is to add this 0.1303% to 3.8035, and we add 0.1308. And it comes out to be 3.9343. So this 3.9343 is the extrapolated yield of bond X. Now, given this yield, given the coupon, given the maturity of 3 years, can we find out the price of bond X? Of course we can. All that we have to do is to make use of our calci once again and make use of the TVM method. So we write 3.9343 as the IYY. We write 100 as the face value. We write it is paying 4%, so we write 4 is as the payment each year. We say that the maturity is of 3 years, so 3n is equal to 3, and now we say CPT-PV and it comes out to be 100.18. So the price of bond X should be 100.18. Remember, at cost of repetition, I say that this is theoretically gleaned out through a process of extrapolation. It may not be the best way to find out, it may not be the best price whatsoever, but given the circumstances, under the circumstances, this is the best guess estimate. And this is how a practical market works. Okay, so in your exam, if you're given this kind of matrix, you know what to do. The steps I've given, find out, there are 6 steps that you have to use. Find the YTM of the comparable, use the TVM function, use linear extrapolation to find the required yield for the subject bond. That's the horizontal movement. We're talking about this. And extrapolated, we found out 3.03. Repeat step 3 for vertical movement. We did that as well. Arrive at the extrapolated yield. Use the TVM to find out the value. Of course, that's what we found out at the last. Okay. Now, before we move into the next complex maths of bond valuation, I think we ought to familiarize ourselves with some of the concepts of yield itself. So, as we have discussed that there is something called as a reference benchmark. More often than not, that is going to be the government securities or the most liquid treasury securities or the government securities for a given maturity. And for the given maturity, since that's the risk-free rate of interest, any corporate issue will definitely have yield measure which is over and above the yield of the government security, because there are some additional risk factors that accrue to a corporate issue, however minuscule that could be. Okay, so what are those risk factors? One could be the credit spread. Of course, we know that the government security is the only security that is default free. A corporate issue, even if it is rated AAA, will still carry, however minimum, still carry some degree of credit risk. So, an investor or the market will have to be compensated for those risks. So, one is the credit risk. Second is obviously the liquidity risk, of course, because as we move along the line, the higher rated security will be as liquid as that of the government securities. However, as we move down the ladder, we will find that securities which are investment grade rated at the lower end or the non-investment grade rated securities, their liquidity could be a problem. So that will have to be, that risk also has to be compensated through something called as the liquidity spread. Option, as we have discussed earlier, that a bond may have embedded options in them. The call option accrues to the issuer of the security. The issuer may call the bond at its discretion, depending upon the falling market interest rate. So the investor or the market must suitably be compensated for that option. Maturity spread, of course, as we know that as the tenor increases, so does the risk. So a 5-year bond, even if it is rated, say, BB, another 5-year bond, another bond which is of maturity of, let's say, 7 years, and still rated BB, both of them will not have the same yield measure for one simple fact that 7-year embeds 2 years of additional unforeseen risk. So that maturity spread also will have to be factored into. Modeling spread, of course, is something that, different models are being used, and models at the end of the day are estimates. So we need to factor in some portion of volatility, some portion of, tolerance into it that gets built into, your pricing as well. Then business cycle spread, of course, credit cycle does not remain the same as you would study in economics, that credit cycle more often than not move in a sinusoidal manner. At the bottom of the cycle, the credit cycle might be the credit spread may be very low because the government monetary policy is such that maybe such at that particular point in time when it has to actually expand the economy, boost the economy, it will definitely try and increase the liquidity in the market, thereby lowering the credit spread. Opposite is the case when the economy is in overheated zone. The government will try to taper in, as quite is relevant in today's time when a lot of talks are going on at the Fed for tapering the interest rate. So that also that cycle spread also kind of gets built up in the spread. And last but not the least is, of course, the inflation. Now, more often than not, inflation is reflected in the nominal spread or the nominal interest rate itself. But here, I'm not talking about only the market interest rate that gets built into the interest rate, but also something called as the sector inflation. So some sector will have their own inflationary measure, own inflationary component that must also be taken into account if they are significant. So there is a mnemonics that are built around, which is called CLOMBI, and that stands for each of the first letter of the spreads that functions that get built into it. And these put together, all of them put together form the additional spread measure. Okay, this is a very, very important slide. I want all of you to read on this slide in order to glean through the concept, get through the concept, because as I say, and I keep on repeating that what you build in your level 1 is going to help you until your level 3. Fixed income is a complex subject, and it is there across all the 3 levels, and it should. My objective is to see that it becomes as lucid as possible for all of you. So these additional spread measures, when you stack up one after the other, finally culminate into the yield of the security. Okay, so the abbreviation of that is CLOMBI: credit spread, liquidity spread, option spread, maturity spread, modeling spread, business cycle spread, and the inflation spread. Each with varying degree of impact. Of course, it depends upon industry to industry. Some industry, the credit rating is by default is much better than the others. All or one can change at once. Definitely, if we see that this is the final yield and these are the components of them, as we talk about CLOMBI. So it might so happen that at any given point in time, the credit spread increases while the liquidity spread remains constant and static, or the business cycle spread suddenly lowers, or the inflation spread suddenly increases. So one component may increase, another may remain constant, or all of them can increase, all of them can decrease at the same time, or there could be interplay. Now, the collective effort of that is what is reflected in the yield of the security that gives. Remember that if even all of them remain constant, still the yield of the security can go up or even come down if there is a movement along the benchmark curve. So if the benchmark security suddenly lowers, so the ultimate yield will also proportionately get lower. If the benchmark security suddenly increases, the yield of the security also will succeedingly increase without affecting the components that get stacked up between the reference bench curve and that of the security. Okay, and even if the reference curve remains constant, one of the components or all of the components, they get altered, the same is going to be again reflected in the yield of a security. So again, this is a very, very important concept. Read on this portion of the video as many times as you want in order to again get through the concept. Term structure and interest rate. So little bit of term structure economics portion of it, which is important for us from the fixed income perspective. I'll just touch base upon them. So typically there could be 3 sorts of interest rate curves. One, as the most normal is wherein as the time to maturity increases, the interest rate will increase. That's but natural, because the increased time of maturity embeds the uncertainty risk that has to be compensated. So this is called the normal curve. The normal curve is upward sloping along the timeline. It could also happen that the interest rate remains constant for a considerable period of time, which is called a flat curve, or even the recent economic shocks could be very high, because of which the instant interest rate might be, the short-term interest rate might be much higher than the long-term interest rate. In such a situation, it is called the inverted curve. So all that we have to understand is these are the inferences which are written here, that in case of long-term, in terms of the normal curve, the long-term rate are more than the short-term rate. Short-term securities are more liquid than long-term securities. Flat curve, the long-term rates are equal to short-term rates. There are no yield advantage for holding a security for longer tenure. Inverted rates, of course, the long-term rates are less than the inverted curve. The long-term rates are less than the short-term rates. May signify current economic conditions are volatile. Current shocks are prominent of the economies passing through the transformation stage over the horizon. Okay. Now, there are some notations, some conventions that you need to familiarize yourself with, and that is the effective annualized rate. And I'll do the sum algebraically first, and then I'll again show you one method that you can make use of in your calculator itself, and that will help you in bypassing all the spade work of actually running your calculator and wasting time. Not these are the shortcuts that the successful candidates actually deploy, and I want all of you to. But before all of you to follow that, but before that, we also must first find out the math behind it. So let's imagine that what is meant by the compounding. So compounding is as you break the periods. Okay? This is monthly compounding. This is quarterly compounding. This is semi-annual compounding. And of course, this one is your annualized compounding. So, what is effective annual rate? So, effective annual rate is nothing but, the equivalent rate that would yield the same absolute amount. Mind my word what I'm saying. The effective annualized rate is nothing but the equivalent rate that would yield the same absolute amount that you are getting right now by compounding in different frequency, whether it be monthly, quarterly, semi-annually, whatever be the case, even continuous basis. So there is an example which has been given how we go about it. So this is the one. So if you have to find out the annualized rate or the effective annualized rate when you're compounding quarterly. So this is how you do it: 1 plus 5% divided by 4, or 4 minus 1. That gives you this is the effective annualized rate of quarterly compounding. This is the effective annualized rate for monthly compounding, and this is the continuous compounding basis. Okay. Now, why this is important? So this is important only from one perspective, because if we have to actually make some sort of comparison between two bonds, two instruments, which one is yielding more, because they differ in their compounding frequency. So they need to be brought into some sort of equivalence level. They need to be brought to some sort of comparable level. And that's where these calculations make life easy for us. Remember, compounding more frequently at a lower annual rate equals to compounding less frequently at a higher annual rate. Money market instruments are the ones which have typically maturity of less than 1 year, and they are not compounded, but they are annualized. Okay. So the convention is to express in one of the two ways, either through something called as the effective annualized rate or something called as the bond equivalent yield, which is in the semi-annual based. Okay. So how do we do it algebraically? It's very simple. All that you have to do is to find out which was the, suppose, let's say we're talking about 5% quarterly compound, what it is going to be in a semi-annual basis. So all that we need to do is to do this thing. 5% divided by 4 whole to the power 4. This must equal to, so annualized thing. So annualized, semi-annual basis. So we say it. So semi-annual, whatever be the thing. So we do it. Okay. So from here we can find out the value of x. right? So I'll just do the math for you. So it's 5% divided by 4 is 1.25%. This to the power 4, it comes out to be 1.04095%. So square. So x is equal to 5.03%. Okay. So you can input any value. Suppose if it is monthly compounding, so 1 plus, let's say 6% monthly compounding. So whatever you're dividing it here gets annotated on the power front. So this now we have to see what is the equivalence if we have compounding in an annual basis, in a quarterly basis. So we say y% is the quarterly equivalent of this. So we just equate. As simple as that. So y from here, so 6%, 0.5%, this when we add 1.005% y to the power x 12 gives me 1.0616%. All that I'm doing, I'm making my calculator work. Y to the power x 0.25 because I'm just shifting the power base here. Minus 1.05 into now 4. So this comes out to 6.03%. Also see if this proposition is holding good. Yes, this proposition is holding good. Compounding more frequently at a lower annual rate, 6% being compounded monthly, equals to compounding less frequently at a higher annual rate, 6.03% at quarterly compounding. Okay. So this is the thing. All that you need to know is this equation to find out. There is another way to find out at least the effective annual rate in your calci, and that's very, very simple, and I'll show it to you once in your interest rate function. All that you need to do is to press second and press 2, that is icon function. Again, whatever I'm saying, these are all applicable in BA2 plus professional, BA2 plus professional, Texas Instrument. I'm not aware of the convention in HP Hewlett-Packard 12C or BA2 student version, that I'm not aware of. So press second and press icon. The first thing that you'll get is the nominal. So the nominal interest rate, let's say we want to find out this particular thing, 5% compounded, 5% compounded quarterly. So we say nominal as we input 5. And then the next, when you press this, so first is, it will come nominal. So input 5 and then press the down key. You will see EEF, leave it as it is because this is what you have to calculate. Press the down key and now you'll see C by Y. So input C by Y as 4 because it's quarterly compounded. Press 4 and then press enter. Then again press the down key. You'll get back to the nominal. Press the EF. You'll come to EF and now just press CPT. When you press the CPT, it gives you 5.095%. Same as this calculation. So whatever you're doing here algebraically, your calci does for you in less than 10 seconds. Again, this is a shortcut that you need to understand, and this is only going to work for your EAR basis, which is effective annual rate. The any other formula apart from the continuously compounded could be inputted here and could be found out. Okay, but if you are given to find out the effective annual rate, make use of your calci. You're going to save a lot of time. Okay, so let's attempt a problem here. Acme Corporation has issued a 5-year quarterly pay 12% bond priced at 98.5 per 100 of face value. Acme's sister concerned sister concern, Emerald Pharmaceutical is planning to roll out another 5-year issue that pays 10% semi-annual coupon. The corporate and the issue ratings are similar. The underwriter has assured Acme that they should expect an offer of 97 for this issue. You're an analyst with ABC Corporation. Should you invest in Emerald's new issue? Okay. So again, very important thing. So let's jot down the details. So here we have Acme, and then here we have Emerald, its sister concern. So it has issued a 5-year quarterly pay 12% bond at 98.5. Okay. So the details that are given here is issued a 5-year quarterly pay. This is T is equal to 0th year and this is T is equal to 5-year. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And each year these are the quarters. So 1 quarter, 2nd quarter, 3rd quarter, and this is obviously the 4th quarter. Okay. So 5-year quarterly pay 12% bond. So coupon is pegged at 12%. The present value of this bond is 98.5. Okay. And here Emerald is also issuing a 5-year bond, but it pays a 10% semi-annual. So we have, instead of quarterly payment, it is paying me semi-annual basis. Okay. So every 6 months I get paid. The coupon are being paid. Okay. So here the coupon that gets paid is 10% semi-annual. This is coupon 12% quarterly, and this is semi-annual. The corporate and the issue ratings are similar. So that means that there are no differential between the credit spread of both Acme and Emerald. The underwriters had assured Acme that they should expect an offer of 97 for this issue. Okay. So they're expecting the minimum price of Emerald to be 97. You're an analyst with ABC, should you invest? So first and foremost, let's find out the yield given all the details here. How much is the yield of Acme? So we see that if we input all the details here, wherein n is equal to 20, I by n is equal to 20 because 20 quarters are there. The PMT is going to be, of course, 3. The present value is already given at 98.5. Face value we know by default is going to be 100. And then the I by Y of, remember, since you are converted into quarter, the I by Y also you're going to get in quarter, and that comes out to be somewhere around 3.1%. So you annualize this, the annualized I by Y is going to be 3.1 into 4, which is 12.4%. Okay. Since this issue and this issue, there is practically no difference. So we can use this yield here as well to price this issue. So here all that we do is to take this yield at 12.4%, input this, and try and find out what should be the price of this issue. Okay. So if we make use of that, so we input all the details here. This is a 5 years issue, so there are 10 semi-annual periods. and the coupon is 5 each period. The yield, of course, is going to be 6.2 for every 6 months. And the present value of this security is 91.25. Okay. Now see, what's happened is that both of this issue are from the same organization. One is a parent, another is a sub. Both have the same credit rating, both have the same maturity. One is paying a semi-annual coupon, another is paying a quarterly coupon. But the emerald issue is slated to be priced at 97, which is far more premium than the theoretical fair price of this issue, given the yield, given this yield of 12.4%. And we are justified to use this yield of 12.4%, right? Now, the issue, the theoretical fair price of this issue, which should have been 91.25, is being slated to be launched in the market at a premium of almost $6 more. So that means this issue is actually overpriced, and as an analyst, my answer is no. I must not invest in this security. Okay, so with that, we come to the end of the part 2 of the fixed income valuation. In part 3, we will conclude the remaining portion of the valuation. I hope you enjoyed this session. If you have, do let me know in the comment box, and do get in touch with me for any of your doubt clarification. Thank you very much.